It's hard to understand the way that you went out. I bet you're living with a little hint of doubt. Maybe next time when you go to show your hand, you won't cut and run, you'll finally make a stand. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Existential questions always get you down. All you want to know is are we lost or found? Is there something that you feel you need to chase? I bet you thought you'd put me in my place. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. You can run, you can hide, but inside, I'm finally getting to you. Yes, it's true. I still love you, but I am getting to you.
Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
Me, DK.
And me, Van.
Bringing you your weekly double tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Force. I've noticed a trend when we start the show that I've now drawn out the first welcome, and it's not, I'm not trying to be like, you know, Bruce Buffer, or fancy ring announcer guy, but it's more because I'm every time we go live, I have the creeping fear that my mic's not working, and so I have to like I've got it in my head now that I have to like draw it out so that I can see the levels bouncing, and there's always a bit of a lag, so yeah, anyway.
So you could just as easily start the show. Oh shit! Welcome to the Resupply.
Yeah, yeah. Or, which is more in our style, I could be like, yeah, but yeah, exactly right. Now we're just pretending we have tech issues. Yay for us. Hello everyone, nice to see you all. Welcome in chat. No, welcome back to G&D's Beard. Gone, and I hate it. This line right here, that where one chin stops and the other begins, hate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it. But that's okay. As the shadow grows, so does Sauron's gaze or something.
I was gonna say, I'm like, this is sounding very Rings of Power
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. I was like,
The
okay,
shadow
Steve-O.
grows.
It's like, where's Steve-O going with this? And he tried, so an attempt was made. Let's give him points for that.
I mostly did it for you guys. Little peek behind the scene there, increasing
Oh, thanks.
DK's voice on this podcast. Maybe too much. You quiet down, you. Yeah, I thought I'd try a half-assed Tolkien reference. Is that his name? That's his name.
Sure.
Yep, nailed it. Fucking, I'm good at this geek culture thing.
He learned so much from our Lord of the Rings rewatchables.
Yep, I was definitely there for that. Right, Picard facepalm. How about a double resupply facepalm? Because that's floating around in the clip somewhere. I love that clip so much. Every now and again it pops up. Absolutely love it. Wow, what a week! What a week it has been. It actually.
Really? Hey, did hang on? Did anything actually happen in the last 2 weeks on this channel?
I tell you what.
I don't know.
We got to do something pretty spectacular, I thought, last week. And it's taken a few days. It's taken a few days to kind of what the heck is it? Get out of here, Fuzz. It's taken a few days to kind of get over it. And I haven't really gotten over it, to be fair, but I've been recovered from. As most of you know, we hey Tucker. Oh, we're about to rip the shit out of you, so you better hang around because you got no, just jokes, bro.
Buckle your seatbelts.
Oh yeah, you better. I hope you got your big britches on today because things getting, yeah, like you said, rowdy. No, you didn't say rowdy. You said howdy resup, which has some of the same letters.
Yeah.
As you can see, still recovering.
My dyslexia was bad.
Yeah. Is that what that is? Maybe I had dyslexia, mild dyslexia. Is it where you can't read good? Yeah, it's really can't read good.
Yes, I think that is the technical definition for it.
Okay. We're finding out all sorts of truths here on the Resupply podcast.
Just go to the Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
This is a center for ants. Good thing you're not here then. It seems like you are here, Traj, and you're lucky. You're escaping our wrath or something. Did someone say Wheel of Doom? Oh, we're going to get there. We're going to get there, Jen. Also, very special happy birthday to the big girl. The big girl today, turned 5, Saf. Happy birthday to you. I hope you have an amazing birthday. So we, you told DK everyone better shit on your gameplay, or I have some still shots even. I have picked it apart like a vulture on a carcass. But yeah, let's talk about what happened last week first. So, as many of you know, because unless you were living under a rock, we only talked about the 24-hour charity stream for the last month, it seems like. I think we dedicated a bunch of time last week. You know, me and DK were vamping. Not last week, week before. And that's pretty much all we talked about. And then we shoehorned in some sort of lasers content at the end. But we did a 24-hour marathon charity stream last week. Last weekend, and we as a community managed to raise just over $14,000 for Starship Children's Hospital again. To put that into perspective, because I've got some stats that Statman Gray sent through for us, thank you, by the way, Statsman Gray, because there's no way I have any inkling of wanting to do that kind of shit myself.
Because your dyslexia.
Exactly, yeah. Bad with numbers. But we had so many people. Well, actually, we had a lot of people come through and donate this year. I believe the count, because I'm not entirely sure. No, that's given us the total. We had a total amount of donors was 222, I believe the figure is. These figures are probably wrong, but it's around about. That's including multiple people. So multiple people, a total number of 222 donations. for a total amount of, I think it was $14,020 or $40. 1440.
20.
20?
14,020.
I
Yep.
think we got an extra 20 at the end.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's okay. Either way, pretty damn awesome. Do the number of unique donors? I do. It's the data is not sectioned out like that. I don't think. It can be. I just don't know how to do it.
Is it in a spreadsheet?
It is in a spreadsheet.
If you send it to me, I can do that.
Okay, I'll send it to
I'm
you.
good at that stuff.
Question:
Believe it or not.
Is it in a spreadsheet too? What's a spreadsheet?
It could be in a spreadsheet. But we had what's this total donators? I think that's wrong. I think the prize entries. Oh, okay. So the total amount of prize entries into the PS5 and the Lego giveaway was 1,344 total entries into both of those draws.
Right. Which you got one of those for every $10,
For every $10,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So there we go.
Which is pretty amazing. I think the total unique donors, I think Gray from memory said it was something like 99, something like that. So to raise
Sounds about right. Okay.
to raise 14 grand, for over 100 people is insane. Absolutely insane.
It's not bad.
And if you put it in perspective, a couple of ways you could kind of put that in perspective, and we are growing obviously over the last 3 years. This is the third one that we've done, 2 years I suppose. Then shut up, really?
Wow.
Oh, boo!
Blowing up.
Rookie move.
That'd
You and
be
your
like,
bullshit.
send me that spreadsheet.
Man.
Why would you send me the spreadsheet yet?
So now, in addition to the producer, we also have to get mad at your personal assistant as well.
Yeah, man, my staff. I need to sack everyone.
Whole department's just falling apart.
It's hard to find good people during a recession. I have not a lot of people looking for jobs or something. Anyway,
No one wants to work anymore.
what recession? Exactly right. So, to put it in perspective, this community has raised just under it's $28,000 for Starship Children's Hospital alone over the last 2 years, or the last two charity streams. And
It's pretty good.
as a community over the last 3, we've raised over $30,000 for charities, which
It'd be about 34,000. Because I think year one was just over 6. Because that's
Just
how
over
Gray
6, yeah.
lost his beard.
yeah,
So yeah, so
about 30. Let's say 35.
$34,000.
Yeah, 34, 35.
Yeah.
Which,
That's
honestly,
so great.
it's incredible. Absolutely incredible for a community that really has, we passed the 600 follower threshold, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a large number. But I think because we have probably about 200 people of that 600 that are active, or semi-active in our communities across our Twitch communities that we have. So, obviously the Resupply channel, Blue Sin, and Truly Awful, among other. That's kind of the big 3, but there's many of you that are also streamers as well. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I think I can speak on behalf of you guys as well, like we thank you guys so much for your generosity and for making the charity stream like kind of like an annual event at this stage. Like, I think the expectation is probably going forward we will do another one next year. My expectation is never too high. I've managed to keep my expectations low. Honestly, I thought if we raised $5,000 this year, I would have been stoked, because I know a lot of you are going through changes. This comes a special time in everyone's life where they go through changes. People have moved. People have had like massive upheaval in their lives. Changed jobs. Had increased financial burdens from the fact that you're able to go on holidays and shit now. So, yeah, it means a lot to us that people kind of, you guys came out in force and were really like keen to win some awesome shit, which I'll share with the class moment. Stallion, did I change the name yet? No. So it's brought up the ability to do it, but YouTube have said that they're updating some shit and certain features will be unavailable for like 3 months or something. It's really dumb. So we hit the
No
threshold.
winning.
Yeah, we hit the threshold, and as soon as it becomes available, I'll make the change. How was your day on during the charity stream, Dan? How did you enjoy it?
Um, so I I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Obviously, had my internet been more stable, so I
Mm.
could have actually been around for more of it. I mean, I know that that's a thing that I keep bitching about, but it continues to be a thing that is,
I mean, it's a thing.
going to it's it's a thing.
Yeah.
You don't realize it's one of those things like you don't realize like how used to stable internet you get until your internet is not stable
Yeah.
and you're not able to do things that you're used to being able to do. Um, and there were some other things on top of that with that day, like the fire alarm in my hotel went off at 5:30 that morning,
Good thing you're
which
up.
was which was just like, are you fucking kidding me? And so interrupted sleep and then not really being able to get much more sleep before the stream and then dumb internet. So like that part was because one of the things that I really liked, last year, even though it wasn't originally planned, was I enjoyed being there for the whole time, being a voice in the background throwing out snarky comments at everybody because it's what I do best.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I do best. And I mean, I did throw out a lot of snarky bullshit this year as well because that's just fun. Um, but yeah, I mean, for the amount that I was able to be there for, I think it ended up being about 16 of the 24 hours, 14 to 16, somewhere in there. It was a good time. I mean, it was. I know that I've made similar comments to this before, but and you've already said it a little bit, like, but it really is genuinely impressive how well all of these how well all these communities blend, and how well and just the level of generosity that comes from all of our interlinked communities. It it continues to blow my mind
Mm.
on a host of levels.
Um,
So
it is, yeah. It's awfully humbling. Especially when as a result of it, have to wax one of your nipples. That's always a bonus too. Did you catch much of it, DK? I know you sort of had a bit going on, so
I still caught a majority of the stream, and I was at least kind of like lurking as stuff happened. It was my mom's birthday last weekend,
happy
so
birthday.
I ran off to celebrate that instead of hang around with you cornballs. But
that's fair.
in any case,
Fair.
it was still great to see so much community engagement and how like Fang commented on this a couple times during the stream, just like how consistent we were, pretty much over 50 viewers
Mm,
all the time.
mm.
Now, granted, I'm sure some of them were the people who were participating in the stream, but still, that's like a good chunk of people just watching Steve have to heap shit upon himself as he waxes things off and puts gross things in his mouth for him.
Yeah, yeah.
And, all that.
All that fun stuff. Did DK said mum? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well, that's
Funny how
I
that
wanted
works.
to make sure that it was comprehensible to our audience,
My mom.
Your
But
mom.
Ma'am.
like, but Stallion makes a
Ma.
comment in chat that he saw us peak at about 77 when we got that one raid in. That was cool. But yeah, like
I like
like
Raiden.
very consistently for for the entire 24 hours, I think I only saw it dip under 50 like once for, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Now, granted, I wasn't there for all of it, but I feel like those numbers were pretty consistent. And sure, some of the viewers were, people who were participating, but there were only basically 7 of us total.
Mm.
And like Dan wasn't watching on a separate account. She
Mm.
was watching with Stevo. So really, so
I mean,
there's
she could have got her numbers up more. Damn it, Dan! Come on.
correct. So
Gosh.
even if you drop out 6 viewers from that because we had to be doing the thing, you're still looking pretty consistently at like 45 plus for 24 straight hours for a community that is not super large. I mean, yeah, 600 followers on this channel. I know Sin's over a 1,000 now. Gray is at whatever he's at. I can't remember because I haven't looked for a while. But there's so much overlap between those three channels. It's like almost everybody who follows one of those, if you're following one, you're probably following all three to an extent. Or if you're following ours, you're probably following theirs. So the fact that there was such a relatively large percentage of the community there and engaged for, good amounts of time, it's just amazing.
Well, and that comes back to making sure that the stream's actually worthwhile watching. It's important to me that that you guys are entertained by the shenanigans that happens during the charity stream, because why watch it otherwise, right? Like, it's gotta be
People having weird shit done to them is always going to play well on Twitch.
Yeah, well,
Correct.
I really enjoy the Wheel of Doom. I think next year we'll try and add a few things. We've actually, so we have already been talking about how next year is gonna look. I won't reveal too much about what we've got in mind. I think some people have some idea, but it's going to be a little different. But with the same kind of, obviously with the same goal that we raise some money for an organization that's in need of it. So I one of the things that was really cool was that I thought was really cool this year was the giveaways that we got to do. Obviously, congrats to our main prize giveaway. I'm stoked that that Nate got to walk away with the Lego set, because I know he's a Lego aficionado. Congrats to my mum. She's an avid gamer, so I'm sure the PS5 is going to go to good use.
Rigged.
Rigged.
Nepotism.
That cracked me up, actually. We've been talking about. I won't sort of go on too much about what's happening at the moment with that, but we have some. I have been in communication with her about what she would like to do with it, because I don't think she is going to keep it. One of the things we are looking at is maybe donating it to the hospital, and seeing if they can actually use it, in any games room or anything. I'm a little apprehensive about doing that, just because I know that whenever you have expensive tech equipment out in like a semi-public area, often that stuff goes walkabout. So we'll see. We'll find a way to do something with it. Just give away the same one next year. It's not a bad idea, Daz. Oh,
Just imagine like a whole bunch of like chains and zip ties around the PlayStation 5 that's just like sitting on some table in a hospital.
Yeah.
Like, make sure that shit doesn't leave.
I mean, that's not too far from kind of what they do.
The problem with doing it is now controllers are wireless, so like you can't,
right.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It's like, it's hard to steal a console because A, it's so big, it's like trying to steal a heater, and B, like, you can lock that shit down. But yeah, the wireless controllers, and they're worth like, what, 100 $120 a pop. So yeah, it's finding a way around having to have those kind of free floating. So but we'll see. It's still on my floor here. I haven't opened it. as far as I'm concerned, it's just a display box at the moment. So, yeah,
It's a good call.
yeah, we might
It's a
give it
good
away next year. It's pretty good. I also want to give 2 more special shout outs. The first one is to our good friends over at Air Beans, because I'm so glad that they that Tina and that two and Ninja Jack were able to be such a part of the stream, and I'm stoked to be able to support their business, and they also sponsored some giveaways, so thank you guys so much for that. The other thing that I picked up this week, and you'll be stoked to see, our friend Podgy Panda, local artist here in New Zealand, he generously gifted some of his artwork to the cause. So I have sitting here in my possession some real nice art prints of his. So these will be heading out to the people that won them as well. I believe, Than, you picked up some of those, some of that art yourself.
I did.
It's so nice, man. That's so nice.
Rigged.
It just so happened. Oh, and these pieces here, they're so good. I thought these were originals as well. They're actually not that. Sorry, I thought they were sketches. They are actually prints as well, but they look like sketches. They're really badass. But I'm really glad about how many people, the people that won them, and no offense to anyone that lives further away than Hamilton, but a lot of people are going to be here over the next month that won prizes. So, so thankfully shipping's not going to.
Why would they be there, Steve?
Well, funny you should ask. We got a tournament coming up, and I'm real excited about it. European Steve's love them. They do love them. We'll close off this, but I'm gonna put together some highlight videos. I've got all the footage and stuff from the charity stream. Obviously 24 hours is a lot of content to go through. Yes. I have been going through and clipping a bunch of stuff so that they live on the channel forever. You have lots of things in box that you're funny. But yeah, it's really worthwhile checking some of those out, because most of them are me getting waxed. And if you like to see me in somewhat distress, it's worthwhile watching them. My wife, man, enjoys that far too much.
So really the appeal isn't just the seeing you in pain, although I will admit that is hilarious.
There was some appealing happening.
Yeah, the appeal genuinely is just how much delight Dan seems to get in causing you that pain. It's funny.
Oh, I love it.
It's fantastic.
It just if I could bring a smile to my wife's face in any way, I'm happy to do it. But
when I think she was warming up the wax strips or whatever, I didn't know what she was doing at first, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, she's literally rubbing her hands together, relishing this moment. What a savage, Jesus.
Well, and then yeah, the almost Joker grin that she would do as she was ripping the wax off you, Steve. It was just glorious. It's just fucking glorious.
She's got a fantastic set of chompers too. So when she smiles, it's terrifyingly beautiful. Is how I'd describe it. But yeah,
terrifyingly beautiful or beautifully terrifying.
Column A, column B.
Okay.
Venn diagram. There's some overlap.
It's
all fun and games till the nipple comes off with the wax strip.
A man of wise words once told, "There's a line in the sand, man." That's wise, Pickle Pick. Appreciate that. Yeah. So if you want to see some hilarious clips, go check them out. They're up on the channel as well. Let's normally we'd dive into Than's grim reality for 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna
I can do it in 5.
You want to do it? We've got a lot of stuff. If you want to rip through it, give us some bullet points.
Steve, just because
So
you have to poop, don't try to rush us through the show. It's not our fault that you didn't.
It's not there yet. I can tell you that. It's definitely not there. When I start hunching like this, then you could, yeah.
You made it through 24 hours. You can make it through a short show. Come on.
Man, I'm not gonna. Why are we talking about me pooping? That's not good content. That's shitty content.
Yeah, give us our update, then. What you got going?
all right, so obviously I'm still in a goddamn hotel room,
Prison.
which sucks. Yeah, prison, but not really because I can leave.
Love's
So
gonna bust me out.
so originally, I I I had a place that I was supposed to be buying that I signed for back in May, when I was out here, and if anybody who's been paying attention at all to real estate whatsoever knows that the market is markedly different now than it was 5 months ago. Um, so
It never
yeah,
did sound.
that's fantastic.
If you wanted to do it at the end, we could have just left your update at that. So, Dan, what are you up to? Woo!
You know the Oscars when they have the theme music that comes on tells them to finish their speech.
Damn it. So so,
Oh, it's
so
not bad, then good.
eh, to that to that end, the builder as of like 2 weeks ago was selling the model house that I was same floor plan for literally 389, and I signed mine at 424. So I'm like, well, that sucks.
Fuck.
Yeah, so went back to the builder basically going, so I know how many cancellations are happening because I pay attention to this shit. So how about you just lower the price to what you're charging now? We'll call it good. They came back with an offer that I thought was a first offer. We went back again going, no. And they said, nah, fuck you. This is the discount. Basically took it down to 409, so still 20K more than what they're charging. My concern being that when I finally got to the point of closing, the appraisal would come in much less than even that reduced price, and they'd go, okay, you need to come up with more money to close, and I'd be like, no, because I can't. In amidst all this, um, the other community that I've been looking at when I was here in May, my real estate agent was working with another client in that community with the same sales rep who I've been working with. She happened to mention what was happening with me, and they're like, "Hey, we have stuff that's built, and we have this really cool interest rate promo going on. So, long come short, I canceled one contract, signed a different one, and I will definitely be in my new house by Halloween, but we're hoping for, you know, 7 to 14 days before that.
That's
So,
awesome.
there. Did it in 5 minutes.
Perfect.
Less than five
Because
minutes.
you were
Um,
saying like it was probably gonna be like mid-November, right? Mid to
yeah,
late
so
November.
so so in like basically as I was writing my fuck off email to the original builder, like I actually got the email through from them going, okay, your closing is going to be November 17th.
Fuck.
Which considering that place was supposed to be ready like this week,
You gotta
like
poop.
the yeah the original time frame was this week, November 17th. And I'm gonna stay in a hotel for basically 7 more weeks. Really?
Oh, brutal.
So that um so the but it's like it's all worked out very weirdly because the triplex that I've ended up in is literally the exact same triplex I was looking at in this community back in May.
Awesome.
Just I was looking at the middle unit, which was in budget at the time. Well, now because things have changed, one of the outside units, which was a better floor plan, was in budget. So I've ended up in the same triplex with a better floor plan, with a better builder, with all the finishes are better, and I'm actually excited about moving into this house as opposed to the last one where it was just like, well, this ticks enough boxes
Mm.
and I can make all this work. So yeah,
Ticking
it's
boxes is
Yeah.
is the foreplay, right? You really need something more than just ticking boxes.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that
so
concept.
and,
Well,
and
I was just gonna say I'm really happy for you, fan, but I think the way Steve said it was so much better. Steve is so glad that Than has moved on past foreplay. And we're just gonna go straight to the penetration now.
yeah, well, that's fun too sometimes. But no, and it puts me, more puts me um in an actual built out suburb at the moment, as opposed to being further out. So it's going to add 10 or 15 minutes when I want to drive out to the coast. But oh well, it puts me closer to other stuff. So
Civilization, I was gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah, civilization, exactly.
I'm seriously happy you're like gonna be closer to Hillsboro and not like out near Banks or some shit,
Oh,
like
not
out in the
Banks.
sticks.
Ah, yuck. Further
Yeah.
from the tsunami zone. That's good.
I mean, where I was also previously was not in a tsunami zone either, so it's fine.
If you're getting tsunamis there, we're all fucked anyway.
Yeah, we got bigger problems, and the other bonus is, so the other house was like 20 to 25 minutes from my girlfriend's house. This one is like 10, so it's fine. It'll be good.
Ooh, Dan's got a girlfriend. Ooh.
So
That's awesome, dude. I'm really stoked for you. And
yeah,
sorry,
I'm
I
very
said
also.
the words that I said to describe your happiness.
I
But
know
at
you're
So
not.
glad you did.
at some point, I'm going to get a cross stitch onto a blanket and then give that to you as a housewarming gift. um, um,
He went straight from Lord of the Rings to 50 Shades of Grey, all in his very quick jaunt through literary technique there.
let's see a bunch of 50 Shades of Grey face in channel if you've got it in chat if you've got them. There we go.
Or don't,
um,
or don't.
No, that's awesome, bro. That's we very stoked. I'm very stoked that you'll get out of your fun box in the foreseeable future, rather than um, having a fester in there for another 2 months almost. 0 to 100 real quick, exactly right.
Yeah.
Hey V,
The cats are happy also. The cats are gonna be happy also.
Oh yeah,
Which is always a plus.
yeah, true story. They're gonna jump around all nimbly bimbly at their new house. V, just because you're here, pretty soon we're going to be unveiling a new segment on either the Resupply, probably not the Resupply podcast. We already talked about Than's crazy shenanigans. There's no space for mine. But at some point, we'll be doing the new segment, which is called
Stephen went to the dump shop.
Yeah.
That's such a great drop. That's such a great drop.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Right. Let's talk about some lasers. Oh, actually, DK, you got anything you want to share?
I think that pretty much covered what we had to get through.
Perfect.
I'm just looking forward to some tournaments and stuff. As people may or may not have noticed, I guess some people did, I had to brave the wilds of logging onto Facebook so I could upload some stuff to the tournament groups for laser tag. Because
Sorry.
after our conversation a couple of weeks ago about like listening for arena sounds and things like that, and I think it was Lucy, but maybe it was somebody else who asked, "Is there like just a list of them someplace for all the PA drops in Space Marines?" And I'm like, well, I feel like I might have had those at one point, but I don't know. So I just went ahead and like made a document for that and shared it out to people on Discord, on Facebook. You can look for it. Let me know if I forgot anything because I just had to listen back to a couple of games and was catching all the sound that came through. But it's possible I might have missed things. But I thought if you're not super familiar with Space Marines, like I know some of the European players, or if you're looking for something to help train up newer players to recognize certain things in game, that document's there for you. So I thought, why not?
That's really helpful and really good training material, I think. Again, off the back of what we were talking about. Yeah, because it's certainly not a thing that gets taught enough now. So now that we have sort of Gen 8 and people have newer players have more of a crutch in the information that's not crotch, crutch. The information that's on the back.
But even so, it's just not a flattering way to describe it at all.
I'm a wordsmith. I don't know if you know this. I'm quite.
Damn
I've
kids
got
and their touch screens.
I have a way with words.
It's like a crutch for you.
It's a damn crutch. So yeah, that'll be good to use as training material for people. Right. So we had a brief conversation.
Sucks. It really sucks.
Cheers. Oh. Love me that coffee. We had a brief conversation in our resupply chat about some what's the best way to describe it? Some footage that Luke over
Actual laser tag content that we were going to discuss on this show.
yeah, and not only discuss but crucify. No. We're gonna go through and use some of it as teachable moments, but more so it's overall this video and these videos that Luke from Loveland, Colorado is currently creating. I enjoy pretty much all the content that Luke creates on his YouTube channel. I think if you do
Can we drop a mischief in chat?
Yeah, exclamation
mischief.
Yeah, we'll bring up his his YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, go give him a follow because the stuff that he releases is really good. You have Lasers News Lucy as well. On Monday, the new version of Sight opened in Prague, and Prague is also hosting an international tournament over the weekend. And you weren't nominated this year, game, which makes you sad because almost anyone who means anything on the laser scene will be there nominated. Is it like an invite only competition? Is it like a invitational? And none of us got invited either, so that's okay, Lucy. You couldn't hang out with us.
Share your pain.
Yeah, but let me switch across to our real fancy screen. Hang on. Ooh, fancy. We're gonna today, like any good teacher does. Today we're gonna watch a video. So we're gonna let the video and actually, we have a professor here who's gonna take us through some stuff.
Do you want to switch it to like the view where it's just us along the bottom small boxes?
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
I feel like that might be better for visibility stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to give us a quick breakdown of what this video actually is and what we're going to kind of talk about?
Yeah, so this was a video that it's actually now not the latest video that Luke put up, because I know they played again the other night and they put up another video. But this is from one that they shot, I guess, last week at Members Night. And it was really cool to see this video come together because it actually does weave together multiple cameras, multiple angles. And it really started getting me thinking. I'm like, oh shit, all the times that we've talked about how would you present this to a general audience? Mm-hmm. Like, this is proof of concept right here. This is so much more interesting to watch. I think
I hate to cut in and I hate to burst your
bubble,
but actually Demi Hawk at Auckland did it first, so you're welcome. We did have a multicam set up, but in fairness, this one the cameras and the editing is I think a little better, but I have some critiques about it, which we could talk about. But anyway, I hate to interrupt.
I think Luke would probably be the first to admit that it's like there are still things that need to be worked out in the system.
Well,
but I think between this and the Auckland videos, which you rightly point out, I think we do have like a solid basis for. We know the direction this has to go to make it more watchable.
Yeah,
it just there's so much to capture in a given moment, and it's like imagine if you were trying to do this in real time and commentate on it to know which cameras to switch to and all that kind of stuff. I'm amazed they do that for live sports now. Just the people who are responsible for, okay, go to this angle, go to this angle, go to this angle.
Well, you kind of
on just a drop of a hat.
You kind of have to do it on a delay almost. Like watch maybe a 5 to 10 second delay, and the commentators are commentating on on the feed rather than the scoreboard, which has been done in the past. Like we did some commentary in some finals in Detroit, and the game screen that we were getting to the laptop was different than the game screen above, so there was this weird delay, and yeah. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you don't know what the peanut gallery's reacting to yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
what was that? What happened? Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta
but
say,
other stuff about this video. It is a 10-minute game. First of all, because I think that's all that they can get time allotted for their Loveland member nights. Because I think they have to switch off with Gen Pub, so they can't run full 15s. So that'll be one thing to notice right off the bat is this is a 10-minute game as opposed to 15. And we just kind of chatted about it during the week, the three of us, about doing kind of a video breakdown and looking for certain things, a few trends that Steve noticed that I'm sure he will enlighten us on a few things. But anything that we say again is meant to be in the spirit of improvement and constructive criticism. We're not here to bash anybody's gameplay or anything like that. But this is like truly what I have in mind for when we're thinking about how to get better at laser tag. Like we would shoot the shit out for member night all the time to try to remember what happened in different games, but your memory is a little bit flawed. You don't know what was happening in other things. You couldn't always match it up with a particular moment on the scoreboard, all that kind of stuff. So your data was imperfect. Tools like this, where you can actually go back, look at footage, look at real-time updates to the scoreboard to see where the game was at different states, so much more helpful for being able to review that information and to improve and to tell people like, okay, so when something like this comes up in the future, like what kinds of things are we looking for and what do we need to do different if it didn't go right that game?
Yeah, I think I'd like to reiterate that, like, yeah, this is certainly not an exercise of tearing anyone down. And overall, I love the results that Luke is getting with the footage that he's putting together, and Loveland as a whole are putting together, and also the editing that he's done. Like, it takes so long to do, and it's overall a really good end product. I have some pet peeves about, and you mentioned it, I have some pet peeves about play styles that I haven't been able to maybe explain properly in the past, because this isn't, this game is probably maybe a good indication as a problem that I have with the community as a whole, especially in America. Bloody cheaters. But there's a particular...
That got me number one by cheating.
There is a particular way that people play, and we'll talk about that as we go through. But this whenever you take footage during a game, it's always going to highlight the things that people do wrong, and sometimes like they're snap decisions or whatever that happen, and some people don't do it. Like, people generally aren't like cheating, quote unquote, on purpose. It's usually comes down to poor form or reactionary stuff. But yeah,
or just things to be mindful of, like, hey, you could fix this thing by doing this one weird little trick.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that too.
Click here to learn more.
G'day, Gibbo.
Yeah, so I guess there's basically like two different things that we'll be talking about on and off during the video. One is like things that we noticed in terms of potential rule infractions that you can now review on video, and that might make a good teaching tool for other people to say, hey, this is a common way in which you can unintentionally violate this rule. Here's how to fix it. So that's one thing. And then just some kind of general, what are some interesting things that we would pick up on in a video, and how does that like relate to teaching people about the game and that kind of stuff. So, all right, want me to start it up here?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Enhance.
Everybody's starting out.
Right off the bat, one thing I made a suggestion to Tucker, but probably should have made it to Luke directly. The player cams have player cam labels up the top left hand corner. You can't see them because of the the little thingy there, but I was saying like maybe if you do have ref cams or position cams in the arena, maybe name those as well, because they're good for like adding context to where those cameras are actually placed in the maze. So maybe give them like ref spot, cubby, or whatever it is.
Because this is up on the third floor near the chamber, so the box on the third floor, I can tell just from that view.
Usually where one resupply goes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, generally I would say that that's one of the more, if not the most desired resup spot in the Loveland arena. So a lot of times teams are fighting for it right off the bat. So Tucker's come across from the red side, which is on the far angle behind him. So do you have some commentary about the way in which he's taken this corner here?
Yeah, so right off the bat, and again, this isn't just you, Tucker, and you'll find that out by the amount of times I pointed this out in this video alone. One thing that some players do, I notice it happens a lot with the American style of play, is players will no longer... The art of keeping like your gun in what I call the triangle, so where your gun is in a position where it's out directly in front of you and your arms form a triangle back towards your body. A lot of players overseas have switched to this. And whenever you are sighting down your barrel like this, whenever you come around a corner, the gun almost always clears the corner before any of your other sensors do. And that just immediately, if you target somebody coming around a corner, that is a shield. That's blind firing. And you hopefully, now that I bring it up, people watching the rest of this will be like, oh, there it is. And it's one of my all-time pet peeves with laser tag, because that's such an easy fix. You move the gun from here to here, and you never deviate from the triangle. If you're always in the triangle, you never run into that problem, because every time you come around a corner, your shoulder's going to come first, as long as you don't move the gun like this. As soon as the gun moves away like that, then you run into troubles. But yeah, this stance here really bugs the shit out of me.
How do you deal with the recoil, Steve?
What recoil?
Gotta plant that.
It's a laser gun. There's
Yeah,
no
so,
reason to hold
again,
a gun like this.
We're not saying that Tucker is clearly shielding here, because this is such an open area. You can kind of see there's just a ton of empty space in front of him. So probably his shoulder would be visible to somebody who is coming through that little cutout right there. Maybe, but that's one thing to bear in mind as you're coming around corners. Like if you're out like this, there's a good chance that you can lead with your gun.
I would argue that because I've seen, and I sent you screenshots where later on in this game, specifically Tucker moving around a corner like this, his gun comes around first. In fact, I think I've got 2 instances. If you slow the footage down, you can see very clearly the gun comes around the corner first. So whilst, yes, you are in an open area, as soon as you clear that corner that is to our right, his left, that wall there, as soon as you move around that wall, if the gun comes out first and he targets somebody, that's a shield. Yeah. Your chest is also super visible to them all right now, but what my point is that it's not in line with the chest. It's actually a little bit out. So the gun almost always clears the corner first, and that's almost always a shield. And this is my point, and I can send you some stills as to this is not a good example. He's got the triangle and isn't side on, but he is side on. But anyway, so that camera angle might not show it very clearly here, but just the way that I can see him sighting down here. And again, this isn't a knock on you, Tucker. This is a wider community issue that I see is probably the main issue. But yeah, it's a natural posture for walking around obstruction, but you can easily avoid that if you stick your gun like this and you sidestep around corners. Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on? Because there's a lot of these.
I mean, I like generally, I think your point about being able to move sideways
What's
through a
up,
door is
disgusting?
something that people just don't necessarily do enough in general, is utilize lateral movement to get yourself into a better position.
Hmm.
And not just as a player either, in order to see things sometimes as a ref, just being able to kind of move from side to side versus like having to move around a corner in that way can be advantageous.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one because we're only 16 seconds in, 18 seconds.
Very quick, happy birthday to you, Disco Stu. Hopefully it was a good one. See, that's good. That's good movement. That's sideways. The shoulder clears first.
Hmm.
One critique I had for the editing of this video, some of the quick cuts are really hard to keep up with. But what it does do is it adds like good pacing, I suppose, like to add franticness, as if you were like watching a like an action movie or something. Camera angle doesn't have exactly right, Trash. And also, probably maybe I should clarify. Not every time is it blind, but it's harder to. How did I word it in chat? It blurs the line more when you play like that. Yeah.
It can create bad habits going around corners,
Mm.
I think is just sort of the bottom line.
Mm.
Whereas, like if you look at how Josiah is positioned right now, that's a perfect example of the triangle you were talking about,
Yeah.
where you have shoulder, chest, gun is right there
Mm.
in the middle, in between those zones. So he can move left, he can move right, and definitely will not be
shoulder's always gonna.
in a blind spot. Yeah, because the shoulder will definitely lead in any case.
Yeah. What are you guys doing? That there.
Okay, so yep,
That one right there.
another one. So we'll go back, see that play out. So see how Dr. Feelgood is coming out here. So okay for where he's looking right now down that hallway, but as he turns, you see gun was out to the side. It's kind of lateral in front of him. So that when the gun clears this plane right here, definitely that's the first thing coming out, not the shoulder.
Yeah. I think that was the first one that I sent you.
Yeah, I had just seen one prior to that that was really the one that we discussed before with that coming around the corner. That was more meant to be as a setup example of, look, it's fine because of where he's standing,
Yeah.
but in another instance, this one in particular, like that pretty clearly is the gun is coming out first relative to this plane that's down toward big box, I guess it is. So he's fine as he's pointing toward chamber because his right shoulder is out, but then as he turns, he doesn't turn his body. So in that situation, you have to make sure that you bring your shoulder forward like that instead of being like this and then just kind of moving that way if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
checking in a
It's
corner.
always kind of strafing movements. Like the strafe, whenever you strafe around the corners, and you have that good posture set up. It means that your shoulder is generally going to clear first, or the way that I've seen the Detroit players do it, and not really anywhere else because Scythe and Micro are both so good at it. They do this thing where they have their gun drop quite low in line with their shoulder and they step out like that. So both come out basically at the same time, and having the two hit zones at different planes, it kind of throws off the person shooting back at them, which is
Accurate.
And it also consolidates your hit zone to be as small as possible. Like having, especially in Gen 8, if you have a hit zone here and hit zone here, like there's a huge amount of overlap. Versus the way they take the corner, when they bring the gun like all the way up in line
like
with the
right
shoulder,
here,
it basically minimizes it to right in this area.
I love that shot. When you do it clean, it's so fast and so good.
Yeah, but it takes a second to set up though, and you have to know what you're doing, and it's a difficult shot
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hit, and
yeah.
both of them are very good at it, but it takes practice for sure. Okay, so let's go a little bit farther.
This maze, by the way, Loveland Maze, is a beautiful maze. It's such a good public maze.
Oh yeah, as a public maze, it's one of the best ones I've been in for sure.
It's so nice.
I would agree with that.
What do you got for us, Professor?
So let's watch how Simply Okay takes this corner, which is the same corner that Tucker took before. And Steve, I want your commentary as to whether this is better, worse, the same.
So his gun is a little lower there, and again, the angle doesn't do it great justice. But I think he's not quite as square. Like he's not quite as what? We need a name for that. What's the name of that stance there? Rifle stance.
I guess, yeah, that's sort of a rifleman stance. If it's more toward your shoulder,
yes,
or it's more like
side
I guess
on.
Parallel rather than perpendicular to your body.
Side on stance. Okay, let's call it the side on. So he comes round, and I think his gun is a little more center in his chest. Yeah. So if you're on a back. Yeah, to me it looks like his shoulder comes round like either simultaneous or first. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had it noted that is a better way to take that corner. Anytime that your gun starts to turn like more than about 45 degrees, I think from where you are oriented in front of you, that's where you run into a risk. So that's a little bit riskier, but I had thought that was a much better example of taking that corner relative to what had happened previously. And again, if someone was right in front of them, no problem. But if someone is at the immediate juncture of that corner and your gun comes around, that's when it's a problem.
Usually more like probably more likely to reactionary turn the gun even more past that 45. What you're saying, not targeting who's not shooting. Exactly right. Exactly. It's more like habit forming stuff, right? Like you play the same way that you would if somebody was there that you were potentially shielding against. Yeah. You also dip the gun slightly. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. Looked good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Look at that vista. That's cool.
So we got a little section coming up here. I think it was right along here, as I think where I wanted to comment. So here's Josiah. So Josiah and Tucker, I think, are both here. Is that Tucker or is that Brahmatized? Now that I'm looking again, I couldn't tell actually who was standing next to, if that was Tucker or if that was Brahmatized, who was standing next to Josiah in that example. But my note for that was, if that was in fact Tucker, which I'm less sure of that seeing it in larger screen now, that would mean that Red had both of their 3 hits essentially. That would be along this section of the green ramp, but that doesn't give them very good coverage. So you want to probably have Josiah either kind of move around onto second to get a better angle, or you want to have the players above him, whether that's Brahmatized or Tucker, move up a little bit so they can create like more of a multiple angle on the area that's going over toward Fun Box to the top of the red section, I guess.
Tucker said it was him.
That was him. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, just noticing that both the 3 hits are clumped together here, which it's fine if they're both on that side, but my general thinking would be you would at least want to spread them out a little bit to create a little bit better coverage
sometimes
from where your angle's converging.
I don't know if they're just like this, just to, because they saw one person, and so, with Bagel being the commander, he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to try and get that shot on that person or whatever. Like, I don't know if they be hanging around necessarily on this ramp together for an extended period of time.
Yep. And then it already cuts away at another angle. So yeah, I didn't have a whole lot else there. I was just kind of trying to conceive of where different players were at any given time. It's like, okay, but if you know both the 3 hits are on one side, then that's something that the other team can potentially like work around, versus if you're getting flanked from 3 hits on either side, it's way harder to deal with.
Oh, because that was Dr. Feelgood in that at the top of the ramp. What's that part called? On
the chamber.
Yeah, is that at the other end of where the?
So he's moving from Funbox toward chamber right now.
Right, from Funbox to chamber.
Yeah, because he's from Funbox to chamber, because chamber is basically up here where the ref is, and this would be the view from Dr. Feelgood's camera. I can tell.
Yeah, it says up the top.
So yeah, he comes around, and now we can see that yeah, Tucker just passed out of frame. Josiah's down here on second floor next to closet. Basically, that let Dr. Feelgood come across the top there and just take chamber completely unopposed because both the 3 hits were clustered together in closet, so they don't have like a good angle to oppose his movement going across there.
Where's Josiah? He's just to the left, right? That's not him there.
Josiah's here
Is that him?
in the hat.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, in a beanie. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see a little bit more clearly there.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the next one coming up here?
That one.
So here, yep, here's another example. So okay, let me go back a couple of seconds.
Saying the beanie. Yeah, it threw me. Also, what I was utilizing, if you want, is if you slow down the playback. So if you go to where it says the high def on the cog.
Yeah.
And then change playback speed to 25.
Which we'll get 25. Do a quick little breakdown here.
Oh, it's like the Matrix.
Okay, so then we can go frame by frame now.
Yeah, boom. That right there.
Yep. Look at that gun. Look at where the shoulder is.
Now again, he hasn't targeted anyone just yet, but whenever you do this stuff, you can assume that this is the way that some people will come out of this cubbyhole. And as soon as you do target someone, like right there, the only thing that's exposed is the phaser. Yeah.
Newer member that's trying to break some habits from the military. Okay, I mean,
yeah,
fair.
Well, yeah, but that's why we do this. So now we have an example of, okay, here's what you did. Here's how you fix it.
Yeah. Military industrial complex fucks up even Laser Force members now. So I think and that's quite a big thing. Like whenever we have players, like new players that have come from other war game type games, so airsoft, or if they are in the military, or if they've ever shot an actual gun, it's kind of
counterintuitive.
Yeah, because
it's very counterintuitive.
Yeah, you don't want to expose all the bits, all the hit zones. But we play, this rule set because of the things that it promotes. It promotes more of a speedball type of a game rather than,
bunkering.
Yeah, rather than military,
simulation.
Moves. Yeah, because it's certainly not that.
Well, and something that occurred to me is you talking about it being a rifleman stance, but come to think of that, it really wouldn't be, because if we actually did have something that's more like a rifle where you did have to rest it against your shoulder, you would be probably more likely to clear the corner with your shoulder actually out. But because your gun can move to the side much more and you don't have to worry about that, that's when you can get into tilting it. That's when you can get to bringing it out past the plane of your shoulder,
right,
because you're not keeping it rested against something.
Again, we're not casting like specific judgment on players or calling anyone dirty or anything like that. This is purely for training purposes.
No. Yeah, so to avoid that, again, what you do is just, instead of sighting here, you just bring the shoulder forward, bring your right shoulder forward. So if you're moving, to your right, so if you're moving out and you need to look left, your right shoulder needs to come forward.
Yeah.
And same if you're moving to your right, your left shoulder needs to come forward.
It's best to set up your moves before you make them, almost. Like if you definitely calling players dirty. No, not at all. But I find it's best to, like, you kind of take a moment to set your body up to then move, to make sure that it's, not in all instances, but certainly in a position like this where you're about to make like almost a proactive move rather than a reactive move, yeah, anyway, that's what you heard.
All right, so let's move forward a little bit. I'll put it on normal speed until we need to do another breakdown, just because the matrix view is weird.
Yeah, and like audibly.
Okay, got some resupping there.
I still am just so just stoked at the content that Luke's creating
It's so
with this
good.
stuff. I mean, again, I mean, we acknowledge the Demihawk was did some of this before with you guys in Auckland, but having both of these kind of as templates now, and how can we make it better, and also really like, I mean, even like the camera stuff that the um fuck, the Perth tournament, those
Oh
guys,
yeah, Aussie,
fuck,
the
Yeah.
Aussie Turtles. Yeah, yeah.
all the
Mhm.
thank you, god damn it, like Brain was just like, dude, there
That
was a
thing.
thing, I cannot remember the thing in the place, but
It
like
happened at one time.
yeah, but between like all of these things, like there's there's a really nice foundation to be able to make something, yeah, that's relatively consumable
Mm.
for non players, as it were.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine this week who came and played at our members' night on Tuesday, and because he saw the stream set up the way that we were streaming the scoreboard, and he was like, "Oh, wait, so do you just have like the scoreboard up?" And I said, "Yeah, like as a player, and most players like we just mostly want to see the scoreboard." And he said, "Well, because we've got security cameras set up in the maze." He's like, "Do you not have feed access to those? Like, wouldn't it be better to have those up?" And I was like, I mean, it maybe from like a spectator perspective, like that'd be good for the general public as having those kind of cameras set up. But as a player of Space Marines, the most important thing that we kind of want to watch is the scoreboard. Um, and yeah, it was a different way of thinking, I suppose, for non Space Marines kind of player thought. Anyway,
Okay, so we're gonna look
Okay.
at something else here
All right.
that is about to happen. Okay, so we got a little issue here. Is we have, look how many people on the red team, all on this ramp. There's the resup right here. So you got Brahmatized and Jidoku right here, and both the scouts who are below them, and it looks like they're not entirely sure where they're going. So what kind of issues do we have here?
clumping.
We got some clumpage.
It's a clumping. That's not to be confused with the crazy dance style that we do on the streets.
So a second ago, one or two, let's see, just before this. So here, they're okay. So the resup is stopping here, crouching low on the ramp, resupplying this scout, and then they can move on. At least they have some cover here. But then as they start going up the ramp, Brahmatized and Jidoku both get shot from somewhere, maybe from behind, maybe from above. You have both scouts that are below them. One's going up, one is going down. And I just had in my notes, what's the plan here? Because you need either visibility or cover. Ideally, you have both, but you need at least one of those things to effectively like move your resup to someplace effective. Right now, they don't have either of those things. There's a scout who's out of position. They need to have one scout who's kind of watching above, letting them know whether it's safe to come, and the other one should be either getting resupplied or somewhere else. But essentially, like where Loki is right now, that should be flipped with Brahmatized. Loki should be the first one up that map, up that ramp to go clear it for them if he was just getting resupplied from them. They need to send him up first. He calls them up, lets them know what's actually happening, versus here it looks like they just kind of got stuck on the ramp and then didn't know what their next move was.
This whole area too is such a like death zone. If you get caught out in this area trying to come up these ramps and there's any green
Especially if
player,
there's pencils.
Yeah. That's why Loki didn't want to go up there. He was worried about the pencil. He's like, I'm going to let Brahmatized run over that thing. I don't want to slip.
I was standing where I think who's this the new scout. I don't
Yeah,
know his name.
I heard them mention his name a couple of times on stream, but I did not note it effectively. It's the one with all the face characters.
Yeah, so I was as a ref
Face man.
standing in that corner, and I watched I watched Titch run down the ramp on the right where Bromatized is, and basically eat shit from about halfway, slide into the into the guide wall at the bottom, and then pop back up, and then like have the best game of his whole tournament on a fuck knee.
Yep. Yeah, that was a thing. He did that.
He did do that. All right.
What a dick.
All right. Next up.
Sweet roof shot.
Okay, so one thing I'm noticing here.
Yeah.
You can say something, Steve?
No. Got nothing to say.
I'm just pausing a lot.
Yeah.
So here we have the green resup in the fun box here at the top of the red ramp. Resupplying people, perfectly acceptable. It looks like, they must have just resupplied the commander, but they don't really have very good visibility here. The top is covered because you have Simply OK basically crouching here in the lower left, and I assume looking down the axis toward the chamber to cover the top side. But even after they resupply him, the resup just kind of stays there. They're just looking down into the corner. You don't have the medic looking around up to the top of chamber. You didn't have Azor, who's playing ammo, looking down the ramp to see if anybody's coming on that side. So it's good that they're focused on resupplying the commander. That is your first job as a resupply. But in between, when you're not actively doing that, you can still be looking around, just gauging the situation, because you don't want somebody to sneak up on you from either side.
It's a tough one. I think, is Azra kind of a newer player? I think I saw something about
That's
that.
my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little hard for newer players. She is okay, so it's a little hard for newer players, obviously, to have. She's 3 months in. Okay, yeah, have that whole awareness of, like, first and foremost, as a newer player in the resupply, you need to, like, the first thing that you should like focus on learning is how to double tap. Taking instruction from either the other resupply partner, or working on being able to give instruction yourself. That's first and foremost what you should do. Once you get that sorted, then is the time to kind of start looking outside of those duties to kind of keep an eye out and yelling at people coming in and stuff. But that's, you would hopefully lean on the other more experienced resupply if the other person is a little more experienced to kind of take that role as well. There's nothing stopping the players being resupped from keep lookout in this situation. Resup needs to focus on their job. Yeah, I would.
That's true. That's true. I'm just saying you can take a quick look, because it's going to be 8 seconds while they're down.
I would say that's
you can take a peek.
getting into more advanced kind of resupply play.
Well, we're the Advanced Resupply Podcast, so it's in our fucking name, man.
But yeah, I'd probably say I'd go. Yeah, I'd probably agree with Traj. Like, first and foremost, as someone who predominantly plays heavy, I want my resupplying first and foremost. Like, as soon as you start fucking around with, like, not necessarily taking shots, and I don't think that's what you're saying. What you're saying is keeping an eye out. But, like, you know, if you're just learning the role, definitely focus on just doing that one job. You know, getting double taps in.
And you can even have like one resupply player tell the other one, like, just a quick tap of, okay, focus back now. Like, have the medic keep track of that stuff about how long their downtime is. And fortunately, since your gun counts it down, you can even tell the resupply, like, hey, 2 seconds. So that way they can just be in position ready to go.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. I'm talking about, these are like real minuscule adjustments I'm talking now. But if you want my input, that's what it is.
You do this in the next video? We might have to talk about that next time. You guys keep putting them out. We'll keep shitting on them. No.
I couldn't see through all the fog in the latest video, so.
I love me
all right.
fog.
So I think we have like almost 30 whole seconds until something else comes up that I wanted to talk about.
Or just appreciate the
30 whole
lasers.
seconds? Wow.
Yeah, that there is just kind of, again, walking around with that, but now we'd have to go back. There's plenty more examples of it. Uh-oh. Oh, I think we lost DK.
Oh, no. Oh, that's problematic.
That is problematic. DK is the one who's look at that. Look at that. That's never a good thing. Not the professor. How could his internet lose to Thans? That's
So
so
the-
good.
Okay.
He's back again.
Oh
The
boy.
actual answer to that, Tucker, is I'm actually using my hotspot for the stream for this stream right now instead of the hotel internet. That is how his internet lost.
Well, that was
mine.
unfortunate. What was the last thing I said?
I don't know. That's all right.
Well, I was saying, okay, so when we go back to this view, now we're in Funbox, and what do we have going on here?
There's
What did
a
we
lot
just
of
talk
there's a lot
about?
of clumping. There's a whole lot of clumping. We're getting clumped.
Yeah, so we got quite the Funbox cluster. So if you have an enemy three hit who can come in right now, that is looking yum yum like some delicious lunch right there. Because you got a heavy who's off, you got a scout who's off, and you just got the resupply hanging out there. So it's time for a three hit to feast. But red's out of position,
Yeah.
so they don't have any coverage
Yeah.
of big box to like watch who's coming in and out of who's coming out of that fun box there on the corner, and they don't have anybody who's pressing from chamber. So green isn't being punished for clustering up here. So clusters are bad, but hey, if your enemy's going to let you do it, why the hell not?
But this
Go ahead and take
happens
resup.
from the very small amount that I played in this maze. This seemingly happens quite a bit with teams. This is one of the choke points where if you have your resupply, in the fun box, like this is a risk that you run because there's no room, and it also makes it really hard if you do have some less experienced resupply players. It can make it really difficult on them to actually get the doubles because you're so cramped up and you're shooting at funny angles and you're getting the IR crossovers and all sorts of stuff. So try and avoid this, but it happens.
Well, so I'm looking now. Dr. Feelgood is on 13 lives, 15 shots. So in this kind of scenario, definitely has enough. At least once he's up, he's down right now, so that doesn't make any difference. But once he's up, slide out toward chamber, make sure that hallway is clear before you come back for resupply, rather than just sitting where he is, not backtracking, not doing anything to kind of secure that area. That's what you need to be mindful of. Luke, who is going here, is.
Were you talking about Dr. Feelgood?
Dr. Feelgood, yeah. Luke, who is Jarrett's dad in this situation, changed his name, is on 8 and 14. So definitely warrants taking at least one resupply. But as a scout, even if he takes one resupply, that's going to put him up to 13 and 24, which is enough that you can at least go check the ramp to make sure that it's clear rather than just everybody sitting there all the time. That's just my biggest thing, is that when people start clustering, people say, I need resup. Sometimes even getting one resup is going to be enough to allow you to buy just that little bit of breathing room so that you're not all just tucked into fun box or chamber or closet or anywhere else where all of a sudden you have 4 people who are all standing within a 5 square foot space in a 6,000 square foot arena. It's like, if we're not having very good coverage, we have all 4 of us right here.
I cast fireball.
Pretty much.
I do when in those scenarios it's really important to kind of communicate with your team. Like if you have 2 people coming, I need it. One of those people has to make the call. Okay, either we both or I'll take one and then I'll kind of like hover. You get full and then I'll come back or whatever it is.
Yeah, and in general, that usually should be the scouts because they get resupplied so easily.
That's right.
But Dr. Feelgood has enough stuff. I mean, sure, I'd want more shots if I were him. I don't like sitting at 15 shots, but 13 lives is plenty, and 15 shots is enough that I can at least clear out an area to make sure the resupply is secure, and then I'll be able to keep getting doubles upstairs, which is really what I care about. Is not getting the 1 right now. It's getting the next 5 where I don't have to be under pressure somewhere where we're constantly getting attacked.
Right. All right.
All right, moving on.
Damn, it must be nice to be able to see over that wall.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, big box. It's such a nice man.
Okay, so Dr. Feelgood's coming back across. There's the other angle. So pretty much right around here. I think I just wanted to pause at the 7-minute mark. Back up just slightly. because I know Luke also did a
Ugh.
breakdown and commentary with some of the Loveland guys on this video, and I know something that he always asks is, "What do you guys think you could have done to get back in the game?" This was a moment that kind of stood out to me as to, all right, when did the game start turning and when is the time to regroup? So by the time we have Dr. Feelgood coming across here, we have Green Scout and a ref who's looking downstairs. So obviously not a lot's happening. Dr. Feelgood's coming down. I think that might have been simply okay going back upstairs. So Green has control of the upstairs by that point. So this is the moment if you're looking for a place, if you're the red team, like when did it start to break down for us? When do we need to regroup? It's right here. It's 3 minutes into the game at the 7 minute mark on the timer that Green has solidified control of upstairs. Red still has a lead on points. They're certain ahead on a bunch of gens, so it's
Yeah.
artificial.
Yeah.
But they're not so far behind they couldn't come back. Green just took control of upstairs, but they haven't started sending attackers down yet. So if there's a moment for Red to regroup, this is where they need to take advantage of that.
That just real quickly because it shows up just on that 7 minute mark or thereabouts. This maze has a lot of these top-down shots, shooting from upstairs to downstairs, and I've always been wary about them because A, we don't really have them at our maze, but B, I think that if you pause it right now, or go back and run it like
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and slow it down.
yeah, it always to me is such a it's playback speed, yeah. It's such a tough one to get to make sure that you're there, legitimately showing sensors shooting over this wall. Now, I miss who that is. Is that the other?
This might be the other scout. That might be M1
Yeah,
Abrams. I'm
M1
not
Abrams.
totally sure.
A lot of taller players can make that shot, but not always. That's Calkins.
Oh yeah, that's simply okay.
Is it?
Before it blurred, yeah, I could see that's him.
Oh, random. But yeah, like depending on angles and stuff, this is always such a murky shot. It's not so bad from these walls, but when you start shooting back over by the fun box down into that corridor underneath the ramp, that shot, there's so many pipes and shit that hang over there that like kind of make that shot like impossible. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Really like the straight down vertical shot. The way that Calkins has it here is going to be fine because his shoulder's out. He's at basically a lateral angle to that. He's not like directly down where you might let your shoulder slip back behind the wall and just have your gun that comes over.
Yeah, but like
is the real danger for those vertical shots.
They're really hard to referee these kind of shots, and as a result, I find that they don't get called as much as they kind of should. But yeah, it's just the nature of the game, I suppose. I don't like it. Oh.
Whoops.
Oh no. Well, and there's those type of shots are one of those things where it's like you're hoping that everybody is also playing to the spirit, because you're not always going to be able to play to the letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and I think that's one of the other things that's worth noting as well. It's like if people are making the genuine good faith efforts to not be a dick when they're taking certain shots, like that goes a long way to quality of game on a members night, as far as like not getting shitty at other people. If you can if you can tell somebody's genuinely making the effort to do the thing, even if they end up not doing the thing correctly, being able to like go to them later and say, hey, I could tell that you were really trying to do that cleanly, but it wasn't quite clean because XYZ. Like, yeah, that's also helpful.
What do you got for us, DK?
So here we have something that I think many players can relate to. So we have the Red Scout going up the green ramp. You have Dr. Feelgood has put him down. Guess what's going to happen next, ladies and gentlemen? blown away. Look what happened.
I don't like what's happening just here either, but we'll talk about that after this. But this is
Okay.
again,
Well,
I think.
I wanted to run that clip. So go ahead. So he gets missiled. Okay. What are you gonna say, Steve?
So well, we'll talk about because it hasn't happened yet. But we'll talk about what you're going to talk about. I assume is standing in one place is not always a good idea.
No, and I'd say particularly here, there is really no reason for this to happen. So again, newer player, so not knocking or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I even see more experienced players do this, where they'll be faced up with a 3-hit, and what is it that they will always yell out, Steve?
Don't give them the reset.
Yep, it's don't pop out, don't pop out, don't pop out.
Yeah.
What always happens?
They always pop out.
Somebody always pops out.
I blame Tucker. You should have killed him, Tucker. I blame you. But him, just jokes.
But here's my thing is that, okay, so say your team doesn't pop out. What's the plan here for this scout? It looks like Dr. Feelgood's still on 2 hit points, so you're probably not going to take him down, even if you come up and you mutual with him. Now you're in the same spot. Nothing else has really happened. You're not going anywhere. You just got put down again. How, other than the fact that you're causing Dr. Feelgood to, you might get a hit off, but other than the fact that you're causing Dr. Feelgood to stare at you, which since his resup is right down here, maybe isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
The fact that he's drawing that kind of attention is fine, but otherwise it doesn't really help your team that much. So it's in situations where it's like you're not actually doing anything for your team, and you're telling other people don't pop up and shoot this guy who's here. It's going to be my reaction if I'm across the field and I see lights. I'm probably going to shoot at him.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get one on me, and then he'll missile my teammate. It's not because of anything that I wanted to do. I wasn't trying to be a reset for you, but if you're just standing there, you're not helping me out very much.
Yeah. Again, this maybe comes down to inexperience, and again, that's just the nature of being inexperienced. You learn this stuff by this stuff happening to you.
Well, also to be fair, Tucker in chat said that he said that Slade was there. Tucker went to make the shot and he missed. So there was.
But that's also why you don't stand there. Your teammate might miss.
What I don't like what's about to happen. So Slade gets the missile and then moves back, and to me that's a block. Because whilst you're supposed to get 50% of the path. He hasn't either moved to give 50 or like stayed still so the player can run around. And to me, he's moved back and has impeded that player's ability to run past him. I think that's a block. I don't think he's given 50% of the path.
Well, definitely where his leg is right now. His leg is out in the path.
Yeah, so if you watch, he runs back.
But as he comes forward, he does try to bring it in, but because of where he's standing,
he's not moving to the side. He's running back to try and like that kind of player. And maybe Traj could weigh in here as well. But to me, that's a block. You're not giving 50%. You're trying to. You're still moving in a way that's like putting the other player like in a less effort. Because if you watch him, as Dr. Feelgood runs backwards, the scout stops running forwards. So he's had to slow down in order to move past them, and I think that's a see. Because the
fact that he has to slow down. I mean, part of that is also, I'm sure he doesn't want to have a collision with Slade in that example. That's the point.
Like, he's trying to run past him, and the player's not giving 50%. He's moved into a position. He hasn't moved into a position where he's given 50%. He's still impeding that player's path. So I think that's a block personally, but. I
tend to agree with Ducky here. This one's a little bit dodgy, but it's interesting that you bring this one up because there's another example of a potential block and dangerous play that comes up later in the video that I thought would bear a lot more commentary. So it's interesting that you bring this up here. I want you to keep that in mind because when we go over one of the next ones. Okay, so Dr. Feelgood comes down the ramp here, goes face up with Tucker. So I think it's basically right about here. What's that?
So you didn't miss him this time.
Yeah, didn't miss him that time. So Dr. Feelgood has come down past him. Here, I kind of feel like is another one of those inflection points where Tucker kind of needs to make a decision as the heavy. This is a really hard decision to make because of where his lives and shots are. He's like not in a comfortable position to go either way. He's not so low that it's like he has to get resupped right this second, but he also knows that he now has an enemy heavy that is downstairs that's on the loose with him. So you have options and things to consider as a heavy. Now, I'm not saying any one of these is the 100% correct decision because there are so many variables that go into this. What are your lives and shots at? Who else is around you? What's the overall flow of the game? So again, I'm not going to say that any one of these is correct, but with an enemy heavy now floating around downstairs, you need to decide, am I going to focus on them as the primary threat? Am I going to try to move my resupply somewhere else where they are not being threatened by this heavy immediately? Or am I going to take this opportunity to punish the other team because now I know the enemy heavy is down here? That means his resup is probably alone upstairs and I can go hit them without having to worry about the enemy heavy being there.
Not
So those are like
necessarily,
kind of
though,
your three things. Not necessarily.
The likelihood is that the commander's probably up getting resupplied, right?
Yeah, wouldn't you love to fuck that up?
Yeah, but you've got to have a lot of confidence in your ability as a heavy to be on low lives and then go on an attacking run, leaving your resupply unguarded with a heavy floating around. Like I probably wouldn't make that call.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I'm saying like that is one of the things that just like as explained in the game for a new player, like what would should people be thinking at in this moment? If you're in Tucker's position, like those are essentially your three options right now because sure you can get some more resupplies to fix your immediate problem because you're on 8 and 17, not really where you want to be as heavy. You'd like to have a little bit more than that, but with that enemy heavy roaming around downstairs, there's no way that you're going to be able to just resupply at will. So those are things that you need to think about. Should I move my resupply? Should I just focus on this heavy to let other people resupply? How should I handle that?
Thought process here is thus: John and Josiah is upstairs, and you have been low lives again. You firmly believe you can fend Slade off, so tell Bromatires to move freely, but hit me if I ask. Yeah. So that's good.
Perfect.
You've given direction to your resupply, and you have a plan. I think as long as you give clear instruction, like regardless of what happens, if it's bad instruction or good instruction, clear instruction is better than no instruction. Because if you give clear instruction and it turns out that it's the wrong thing to have done, you can learn from that. But at least you know it gets into good good captaincy almost, but just good clear instruction for your resupply to follow, and then you live with the consequences of whatever that turns into.
Yeah,
But that is a decision, so that's a good one to know that you've made that okay, I need to focus on the enemy heavy.
It is definitely one of those things where sometimes a bad decision made quickly it can be better than a good decision made in a delayed fashion. Because because if you make the bad decision quickly, you have a chance sometimes to go, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't the right decision, like within a very short span of time within the game, and fix it. Whereas if you delay over trying to figure out anything to do, well, while you're in that process of delaying, other shit's probably going wrong. And that's going to force you into some sort of action, some sort of decision anyway. So make a decision and go and go with it, and change if needed.
Here.
Listen, I'm just trying to set up the next thing. So here we got a slow motion breakdown for you, Steve.
Oh, slow mo breakdown. Fuck yeah.
Okay, so Josiah is like just below the plane of provision right now, so let's watch what happens with him. So kind of the lower left portion of the screen.
God, what were you shooting? Love it.
Ooh.
So I think I brought this up, and this is probably an interesting one to watch, because it's not so much what happens at the end, but rather what happens as he's moving.
Yeah,
backwards.
this is the inverse of that. Rather than taking a corner, this is one where it's not you're engaging an enemy by leading with your gun. It's that your gun is actually the last thing to be brought back.
Yeah. which is
So
still,
here
if
he's
you target
fine.
a
He's in the
player.
hallway, but as he's going back, watch the position of his body.
Now it's hard to tell again from the angle of the clip, but to me, if he's in this position and if he targets one of those players that he is pointing in the direction of, it's likely that wall that he's ducking back behind is obstructing everything, and the gun is the last thing to come back into cover.
If it's posted here, like
Yeah.
essentially as the gun comes back, when it's right here, your shoulder's gonna be behind the wall and the gun's still gonna be out.
Yeah. So it's basically popping out to take a shot, but in reverse. Which again,
it's not the way that you usually run into this problem, but that is a way that it can happen.
yeah, and we're not saying that this is blind. We're just saying that this comes back to my point that is, as soon as you leave this triangle stance with your phaser, as soon as you leave that and you start bringing your gun here, it opens your stance up to questions,
Problems.
Yeah. And I've got a lot of questions whenever I see this, and I see it a lot at tournaments in the States. Fucking American cheaters.
Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and keep moving.
Walking backwards, leaving the gun hanging is surprisingly common. Yeah. Yeah, just did you see the way that Luke moves there? Just all of this brings questions into my mind. Again, not necessarily that he's shooting blind, but if you look at the way this gun constantly up around here, anytime you clear a corner, that there looks like the shoulder is actually out a little, but I think the gun does come forwards there, so it comes up and a little forwards. Yeah.
The ref was focusing on the wrong player. Should have been looking at Luke, not at Calkins. Damn it, ref.
Most don't realize they're doing it till you tell them. Yeah, and that's why I love the fact that these videos exist, so that I can tear players to shoot. No, so that we can use a lot of this stuff to point out when it, because I've said it a lot to players in the past. Hey, look, you need to square your shoulders up. But I've found that I'm not really a great teacher. I find it hard to articulate what I'm trying to get across. So it's always better to have a visual guide to be like, this is what you're doing. What you need to do is not that. Yeah. It's how I feel, man. It's how I feel.
It's how I feel.
It's how I feel.
I love that we can take a 10-minute video and turn it into like 90 minutes of content.
So here was something that I thought was interesting. Just one of those little things you don't think about that much, but it actually makes a big difference in decisions that Josiah's going to have to make. So Bagel's coming up the ramp here, shoots Luke down. Luke then backtracks here into the fun box. So by hanging out there where he was, back just slightly. So as he pulls into there, right, Luke, this is just executing good control of space. So you're not allowing Red to just backdoor your team, because if he goes past Josiah there to go downstairs, he's presumably going out to go attack or something like that. If he goes past Josiah, now he leaves the back door open. Bagel just comes in and sweeps away anybody who's behind him.
Yeah.
By backtracking up to here, he doesn't advance, but he cuts that path off from Josiah. Now Josiah has to worry about getting backdoored by Luke. Blimey.
Where's my soundboard?
So now Josiah really can't push onto the second floor without having another attacker there, because from where Luke is, he can pop out to either side of the fun box and look down into that big box area on the second floor. So that's going to cut off most of where Josiah wants to move. So pretty much his only thing he can do is to come up through Luke, or to try to pull somebody else as a second attacker to go across onto second floor. But just in terms of like a one-on-one thing, this is how a scout can actually effectively control space against a commander. If you contrast that against like what happened where Dr. Feelgood just missiled that scout on a ramp, here Luke does the same thing. He keeps Josiah distracted, but he gets back around cover.
Yeah, it's good play. Bloody good play. This probably is a good. You could probably run it from here unless you got stuff coming up immediately, but. This is
Not
probably
immediately.
a good example of like why fitness is so important when we play Space Marines. I've been a fit person and I've been a portly person. It's so hard to as a chubby individual. It's so hard to do these kind of plays because you're finding your fitness in your body so much to actually get out and move. So yeah, it's hard to kind of do those athletic things when your body is just like, nah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah. Also on that
Yeah.
same thought, getting old.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to fix
Getting old
that.
is terrible. The worst. I'm sure Traj will agree with that particular statement as well.
What have you got going on here?
So here, just again, a small little observation. So I think Luke was still over on the phone box side. Now you have Dr. Feelgood who's coming across to help, and here's Azra who's coming right behind where Slade is. Here, I think this is actually a nice little like sort of defilade position for the ammo to be here. Sorry, from defensive cover. Too much tactical reading. Uh, so like being able to hug this wall a little bit more closely, then you actually have a pretty good view over Fishbowl onto second floor. You can do a lot as ammo from that side. So this would be another example of if your team has control of an area, this is one of those scenarios where I'm telling players as a resupply, now is where you don't have to be in the corner. Here's where you really can provide a lot more information, a lot more space for your team. If you have Dr. Feelgood go down toward Fun Box, and then you can basically watch this entire hallway from a covered position, and you have pretty good visibility on the second floor. And you can still resupply him.
Again, assuming that your resupply is a little more on the seasoned side. Got a little bit.
That's
more
what we're trying to
experience.
get, right?
Yeah. There we are.
Seasoned, but not necessarily salty.
Occasionally still salty. Okay, that other moment I was talking about is coming up right here, Steve. So let me slow it down. So in terms of what we would be looking for a blocking or dangerous play call, here's, I think, another interesting example, is what's about to happen between Tucker and Dr. Feelgood. So they shoot each other down right there.
Yeah.
Now they're both going to try to make a move for third floor.
I don't know what the rules say in that instance. I'd have to.
I feel like Chariots of Fire should be playing right then. I don't know.
Is that one?
Yeah, that's that one.
It looks to me that actually Tucker's got position. So if you're watching this in slow motion, to me, Tucker's got the position to actually go. But you would, I don't know, it's hard to make those calls at normal speed. Yeah. I think like initially when they run into each other, that happens. Like that's gonna be the case.
Yeah, that was just whatever.
And it's easier to determine like if a player goes to move, because in the other instance, the scout went to go up the ramp, and instead of moving to one side, Dr. Feelgood tried to run backwards with him, and stopped him being able to proceed up the ramp. These two players are trying to get to the same spot, it looks like. Rules, each need to give 50%. There's no giveaway or yield like the road. Yeah, so I guess in this instance, they're both kind of giving each other 50, as much of 50 as they can kind of give.
Trying to.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't know what the rules kind of state here, but I suppose it's...
That's what I thought this was an interesting edge case, is do you call anything, and if so, what? Because if you're going to call a block on one, you could potentially call a block on both players.
Yeah.
That's a situation where Tucker being in the lead might actually disadvantage him because Dr. Feelgood is trying to move past him. So Tucker is potentially blocking him by being just a step ahead of him.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if Tucker's behind...
Yeah.
So in that situation, it would seem to disadvantage the person in the lead.
The interesting here is that Trash say you need to give 50%. There's no giveaway or yield, so you don't have to stop and like get out of the way, but you still do have to give 50%, or at least make an effort to give 50%.
I think in this case, because like both players, like the initial coming together, yeah, that happens. That they were both trying to step. They happen to step the same way. They weren't deliberately trying to obstruct each other. There's no issue there. This, I don't think I don't think I would call anything here because they are both looking like they are each trying to give, you know, each 50% as best they're able.
And that's a pretty narrow space.
Yeah, and it's not like either one of them from here looks like they're stepping into each other to try to give less than 50.
The fact he grabs the wall is why he got so mad. Why? Because it's so narrow. If he needs to support himself to keep pace and makes your movement impossible. Yeah, but you could go the other way and say, like, and I say this with love, you're bigger than he is. So like, and I say this because I'm often bigger than most players at the moment that we play with. I can't, in some instances, give 50% of the whole way. I just physically can't move.
Permanent blocking penalty on Steve.
Yeah, I can't move my gut out of the way. So, but yeah, it's an interesting one here. I love it though. I want to slow this down and like you say, cut Chariots of Fire over the top of it.
Well, you have that ability. So yeah, so some of these are just like quick bang bang plays, and especially if you're watching them at normal speed in the game, it's just, oh, they both like essentially they didn't collide, but they're now rubbing up against each other as they're trying to go up the ramp, and it's like just because they're in contact with each other, it isn't automatically a violation. That's why I wanted to go over this because I really wasn't sure on this either. I wanted to get input from you guys. Glad that Traj is in chat, that Tucker's in chat, like actually giving an input on what happened. Because I'm just like, this is an interesting kind of case as to how are we construing certain things in like the blocking or dangerous play rules? Because that's the other thing is that if Dr. Feelgood is grabbing a part of the field construction to try to give himself a little bit more leverage, like that's historically been judged to be on the more dangerous side in play as well, especially since he has somebody right next to him.
So what another interesting thought about this particular thing is once they get up, assuming that they get to, because there's a turn and then another turn in this ramp, right? So because Tucker's got the inside track, I assumed that Dr. Feelgood actually beat him up because that's what it's kind of hard to see the peripherals of the GoPro.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, we're in Dr. Feelgood's camera right now. So he made it up there. From what I remember hearing on the commentary track that was put down was that he did run up basically to try to stop Tucker from moving up there, and that he said that he beat him up there.
So no, he didn't. Tucker gave it to him, is what Tucker said. Okay. I believe you, Tucker.
Sure.
Yeah. But assuming that he did not, yeah, no, you gave it to him. Assuming that you both get up to that first plane at the same time, the Tucker in this situation would hit that turn first, and I would assume would cross in front of Dr. Feelgood. I would be really interested to know how the path rules apply there. Who has set the path if you're running side by side? Is there no path?
The player who's in the lead in that case would be making trail the one who's behind him. So if Tucker has the step on him, he's making trail, and Dr. Feelgood is potentially chasing him.
Right. I would hate to have had to call that in the game. That's a tough call to
make. But that is exactly what I would be looking for if I were the ref in that spot, is trying to visualize who had the first step. Yeah. And my first thought was because of the chasing implications. But then I started thinking about blocking, then I started thinking about dangerous play, and I started like going back and forth in my head about, is anybody breaking a rule? And if so, who is it?
Yeah. Well, so that's an interesting thing. Tucker says I'd have to cut ahead of him and trip both of us up. So like then you if say that happens and like, you know, players tangle and then both of them go down, it'd be really hard to determine. I suppose you'd have to see it play out to kind of get a feel as to who was kind of in the wrong and whatnot in that situation. But yeah, interesting. That's a great moment to capture on film.
So the other thing that we see here is that now Dr. Feelgood has come back to the resupply, having beaten or having it been surrendered, however we want to frame whatever happened on the ramp. Assuming that both of
Tucker is
his
my sprinter.
resupplies are active, let's say Tucker makes it up and has the path on Dr. Feelgood. The resupplies should be able to keep Tucker down between them without having to have Dr. Feelgood come back, because if they're both up, they have 3 clean hits they can make on Tucker, and that wouldn't have netted him anything. Now, part of what I think was trying to happen here is they were, at least I hope, trying to set up for a nuke rush. Because if you watch back from about, let's see, a few seconds back here, just kind of watch this whole sequence play out until about 4:55 when Bagel actually drops his nuke. There's potential for a really big play here, but a few things happen. So green is all upstairs. You saw a whole bunch of them in the background. One Red Scout ran past. So Dr. Feelgood and the resupply are up here. They get put down. So here's the Scout who now has, again, look the way the shoulder's positioned here. So it's hard to see, but I suspect need to bring that right shoulder forward.
Yeah, it's tough to see because that one is I don't know. It's a little less of an angle.
Yeah, I can't see problem, but based on how I saw this player interact previously, that's again, it's another area that I would just like look for and say, hey man, when you're taking this corner, make sure that you're bringing that right shoulder forward. Essentially. So, but he has control of a fun box and kick somebody out, so somebody has a path on him. But okay, we see green is still clustered there. So red has the opportunity here to kind of pin them in. Red was coming up the ramp, as we saw there.
I thought that was Karama.
But oh boy, now look at what we got going on. So look how many we have close proximity. We have at least 3 members of red on the ramp, including both the resupplies, and we have at least 3 or 4 green people up here, including both the resupplies who are in proximity to each other. So that sequence. What'd you say, Fan?
It's all very problematic.
Yeah, and again, we see people out of position essentially.
Don't play yet. Just real quick, if you have a look at how Dr. Feelgood is standing on the ramp, and people want and say, well, like, oh, my if I move out, my shoulder is like visible from the gun. You can see here that the gun block is blocking his right shoulder. Which again, he's out in the open, so it doesn't matter. But like, this is just a really good front
if you're taking
on
a corner.
angle. Yeah, is how if there's a wall there, it's most likely cutting.
If there were a wall that were right here, essentially, like right down the middle of his face.
Yeah. Anyways.
But here again, we see people kind of out of position. Josiah's low on the ramp, and now essentially, oh, I gotta go back there. Let's slow it down again. Think about how bad this is about to go. So here we have green heavy up here above him. Look what's happening on the ramp right here.
It's basically a shooting gallery.
Yeah, complete enfilade right down here. Just as a complete straightaway. As soon as he comes on, it is game over for these guys. So this is another instance where all of these things on their own added up to something bad. Bagel ended up dropping that nuke. Nothing happened. Tucker didn't break into the resupply, and it put his resupply into a shooting gallery here. However, had the resupply had essentially Loki and Brahmatize been in the position around Closet when that nuke dropped, so they could move up into here, and that Scout had been positioned to move across the top, or if, say, you had Tucker up here active when that nuke drops, now all of a sudden it's completely reversed. Now you have red in the position to capture upstairs, to capture the 3rd floor from green. But because those things happened 20 seconds apart rather than at the same time, it completely fucked red's plan.
Part of that, and I say this to a lot of commanders who are kind of newer, is whenever you nuke with intention, and if you can, give a heads up to the rest of your team. Like, if your intention is, hey, I'm gonna nuke, go take upstairs, make sure you tell that to your team.
Yeah.
Because by the time it drops and they realize, oh, it's our nuke, half of the time.
And it's so hard to coordinate. Yeah. So I'm not saying that it's like, oh, well, this was amateurish. It's also members night. You're not strategizing that heavily. No. But if you're looking for things to improve, it's like, wow, now you have a crystal clear example of if we'd done things in just a slightly different order,
Mm.
that nuke could have been brilliant.
Mm.
Nuke rushes are really hard to pull off, but when they happen, oh my god, it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more
They are
demoralizing to a team.
They are sexy as fuck when they happen correctly. It's true. What?
No.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
They're okay. They're like a 7 out of
Yeah,
10.
Steve, you described tick boxes as foreplay not 2 hours ago, so I
That's
think you
true.
might need to sit this one out here. Okay, still got a cluster on that ramp. So here's about where Simply Okay nukes. So we have a fairly good move from Barometized here, moving forward as that nuke goes off, so that way he can set a path back down toward Closet right here. So that's good. What else was I gonna say? But it still doesn't really save the team's position because you still got your medic down here on the ramp all by his lonesome. You don't really have control of any part of the second floor. It's like this buys you a few extra seconds at least and stops them from just sweeping in to finish off the rest of your team. But it's like putting a band-aid on a hemorrhage.
That's
As
the one.
opposed
Okay,
to a
and yep,
hemorrhage?
see, so Meta kind of hesitated there for a second, like, what's going on? Because I don't think he'd gotten the word from Brahmatized. He was up here going toward Closet. Now the medic's headed back down the ramp, which is probably where they should go. There's not really a whole lot of other options at this point, but that's why, again, Brahmatized sets a good path there, but it still ultimately doesn't end up doing that much for them. The other thing that I noted here was that when Simply K started this nuke chain, he was on 56, so he was 4 off of a third one. I might have saved for that third one there, just because of where the state in the game is. I'm thinking that a 3 chain is almost certainly going to kill their medic and get us on the path to eliminating them. I actually don't think it would have in this situation because, 2 have gone off. Their medic is still on 7 lives. So the 3 chain wouldn't have done anything here, but they might have been able to kill Loki out, and it
It's
would have
hard,
put them
though,
down even further.
Because you know what, 4 or 5 of the red team is on this ramp, and assuming that Simply Okay is somewhere not close to here dropping, who is he going to shoot to get those 4 special points? You know.
Well, so I'm saying wait until you have those 4 special points, so that way you can drop the 3 chain instead of doing 2 here. It forced them downstairs. It's still a net positive result for green. It's much more effective than the nukes that Red just tried to launch, but it doesn't like bring the hammer down fully on them the way that it could have. Like if I'm at 56 and we have good control of the situation, I'm probably thinking I'm just going to wait for that last 4 so I can make sure that I get that third one. But that's me. I know people have different opinions. If though you had, say, like M1 Abrams or another member of Green Team who could be at the bottom of this ramp that they're going down right now, then yeah, absolutely nuke, because then they have nowhere to go where they're not going to get shot. But that would require you knowing that someone was in position for that kind of thing.
Sure.
And that's just hard to know. Okay.
It's amazing how many things you can, decipher at the end from perfect information.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
So here we have, again, Resupply is back at Chamber because they have control of the third floor here. Again, probably not a move for newer players, but for as Resupply is advancing, you get a little bit more confidence. Here's a situation where they can spread out just a little bit, so they can still both point at the same things, but they're covering space a little bit better and being able to watch both ramps, so they're not both in one corner, because they can watch those hallways as well.
It kind of turns into a cluster downstairs.
Yeah, now they're respawning the commanders. That's fine. They kind of have to watch for what he's doing. There might have been one that we just passed by.
When your whole team is on single-digit lives, it's stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stressful moment.
Are you talking about the gun?
Yes, there's another situation.
We'll try and zip through these examples because at this point we're harping on. But yeah, if you watch him clear the corner, just before he gets to the corner, his back shoulder just tilts back a little more. So it's just.
I actually think taking this corner into fun box, I think was a little bit dicier. When he
Yeah.
actually takes the corner to get onto the ramp, that actually looks a lot cleaner to me because the
Yeah.
left shoulder
Yeah.
is definitely out a
Same.
little bit more.
It's just this is
So that one was a little dicey.
yeah. This
Here,
is just the yeah.
yeah, if you bring left shoulder just a little bit forward, but that was much better, I thought.
Yeah.
Going in that direction. All right. So now you have Calkins is watching down into closet. You have both the resupplies who are focused on him. As soon as they resupply him right here, this is another one of those situations where Azur can either cover closet on the other side of this wall, so that way you're at least buying a little bit more space down this hallway, or can even like move down the hallway a little bit more. And as long as you have good communication with the medic, you can still resupply him there, and at least you have better visibility down this hallway also.
So one other thing I'm just gonna say here, that just fucking pet peeve of mine. There is no fucking reason when you're being resupplied for your gun to not be pointed in a direction for you to be able to shoot something. Like, keep your fucking gun up.
Yeah.
Like, having it turned sideways like that when you're kind of basically standing in the open. I get it. You're being lazy because you know that their whole team is downstairs, but you don't know that their whole team is downstairs. Things change at a moment's notice, and it's just a good habit to be in to keep your goddamn gun up.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I get very irritated when people come in for resupply and yeah, the gun sideways, or it's and I get, sometimes it's down as they're like looking around a corner. Fine, you're actively checking for something, and you're like putting the gun backwards as you're looking around a corner. Fine, but if you're somewhere in the middle of something, keep your fucking gun up. God damn
point.
it.
Well put. I think this is another one I sent you. That there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this is getting it primed up because look, that's definitely crossed beyond 45 degrees. Yeah, based on where they were, look how far the gun is ahead of the chest. There was no way for them to cross this plane right here without the gun coming out first.
Go back to that high-low shit, DK. The high-low shit?
Hmm? Oh, I think I know what I was talking about. Yeah. So yeah, here's another potential observation. So you have both resupplies, or at least I think both people who are crouched.
Yeah.
Is split your angles. So one person's high, one person's low, I think is what Trad is saying.
Lower player looks gun high.
I'm not too sure what he's referencing there.
Yeah, what does that mean? You mean as in they are just like also gun to the face? So you saying like that slow-mo yell, it's so good.
It's like watching Platoon.
Yeah.
Yep, here's an unfortunate thing that's about to happen to Red Team is we're seeing Dr. Feelgood's view, and look who he's got right here in the closet.
Everybody.
Yep. So now they're essentially kind of pinned in the closet, but there's not really any good alternatives they have because of where their live situation still is. Everybody is still on single digits, so it's like, yeah, give everybody one round and then just you can't get the fuck out of there because you cannot stay there.
Yeah.
And here comes Calkins. And, oh, okay, Tucker got him down, but now Tucker's down.
If you go back to that Tucker one and put it in slow-mo, because this is one of the, I think this is one of the one of the images I sent you. It's very fast, but go back to where he clears the corner. And if you could manage to pinpoint it right at the right moment, yeah, if you just click and click. See that little gun there? That guy? Yeah, that guy clears the corner first. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So, like, yeah. yeah, you just run into so many problems when you're kind of not squaring up, because then that happens.
And
like,
from Calkin's situation, he may have been able to get that shoulder.
Maybe.
But this is the ref's view. This is the ref's view. We're seeing a ref's camera right here. I would call it as a ref.
yeah,
Like that is I would be like, yep, I saw the gun.
yeah.
That's the first thing that I would see coming around that corner.
Okay, good. You can play it now. Let's stop picking on Tucker.
Yeah.
Fucking cheater. There's a bunch that happened, I think, over this period. I stopped counting them because I was like, there's no point. You guys get like, we can hop on about it, but like,
yep. And now red team has been totally broken, and Josiah is defeated, as you can see in his body language there. Red has kind of one last regroup chance because this ramp is uncovered. Like, you didn't have Dr. Feelgood, who was covering the position above the way that you did previously, but that's still pretty rough. They're not coming back from this one. Like, here's where it's survive if you can, and because it's a 10-minute game, they definitely have a chance around the clock, but definitely not in a 15-minute game. Yeah, I guess as long as the medic's alive, you got a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
that one's crack up. Just walking around. I do.
Yeah, I think from here there's not quite as much stuff because we're kind of in the mop up phase of the game at this part. There was one more thing. I think when we get closer to the 1 minute mark. You can keep your gun up. Oh, that was awkward.
Boy, I love this game.
I think we have one more coming up here. Yeah, we'll do a frame by frame on this one to watch how Azra's going to bring her gun up moving into this hallway. So you see what's happening here is that the first thing that's coming into the plane of this hallway is the gun.
Now,
so
to be
by
fair,
the time it's actually have to target somebody, her chest may be out.
Yeah.
But just something to watch. Like if you just square to the side and take that as a sidestep instead, then you have no worries.
You avoid all that stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Slow motion.
No more slow mo.
I think there's one in like about 30 seconds as well.
Yeah, but again, I think I feel like those horses we've beaten bloody at this point. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it just comes down to technique. Like if you can correct your technique a little bit, which for a lot of people, so you see how Luke is walking around here. His and it happens with a lot of people. They walk consistently around the maze like this, side on like this, and it just, I don't know, it just opens you up to all sorts of badness when you do that.
So this was something else that I noticed. I think that just their coverage of having Funbox here and giving the medic an avenue of escape, even though Josiah's going to put him down, that basically allows him to escape while losing only one life instead of charging into territory that's completely unknown and uncovered and potentially losing a lot more than that. So that's a good situation where knowing where your teammates are, which is another reason I would advise like keeping a lookout when you're on resupply. Even relying on other players to keep a lookout for enemies coming in, it's also important to know where your team is, where are your safe zones you can flee to as a resupply. So, gets shot down, but he gets to safe ground there. Josiah probably isn't going to bother him again in the immediate term. And now, enemy medic, red medic is dead. They're running real low on lives, so it's just a question of whether or not they can get the elim, which they'll probably be fine since Loki's on 11 lives. But if this had gone on for 11 minutes instead of 10, this is definitely going to an elim.
That right there, I quite like that technique. So if you go back, because, shout out, credit where credit's due, the way that Bagel does this is if you slow that shot down, he does the opposite. His shoulder comes out first as he clears that that, Rich. If you go back, you push back on the arrow.
Oh, back on this one. Okay.
Yeah. Watch him clear out of the fun box here. So, as he squares up, his shoulder is actually, by the looks of it, further out past the corner.
Yep.
He definitely is more square than a lot of the other players we've seen,
Yeah.
and plus
It's a little-
his gun
it's a little
isn't
fishy,
fully
but-
exposed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a much better example of taking a corner in a less risky way.
Yeah.
This one is definitely better. And maybe it's not perfect, but it's definitely better.
If you let it play through as well, by the time he takes the shot, wait, get ready.
Okay, so now he's squaring up for the shot.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, since he's coming into the hallway shoulder first, like he can't shoot over that wall,
Yeah.
then by definition his shoulders are going to come out first. So that's essentially the inverse of what we saw him do earlier, where he backed up into a hallway, leaving his gun out there.
Yeah.
This way is going forward, the shoulders will have to come out first, and he
Yeah.
still gets that shot.
And that's what I was saying about, like, you know, if you're going to take a proactive shot rather than like a reactive, kind of set your shot up. And that's kind of a good example of him doing that. It's really good. Making sure that it's clean, but it's also like a really quick snapshot.
Raiden wins 5 tickets. You get tickets. I get tickets for destroying a
What the
base.
heck is a
That's fun.
ticket? I want a ticket.
Must be another
Is it
feature.
Is it a golden ticket?
No ticket.
Looked like it was a rainbow ticket.
It looked like a rainbow ticket. We don't have much time.
Oh, somebody getting that last nuke off. Bagel did not get that last nuke. Died on 20 specials.
Oh,
Always sad
that's
times.
it.
Yep. So Loki manages to live with 6, maybe 5 lives here. I think 6. So they don't get the elim, but if that goes another minute, they're for sure getting an elim.
There's some sweet forehead shot.
Those are
So-
lovely portraits.
Yeah, I gotta say, again, we sort of break these down not to pick on anyone, and I'll if you keep that shared for me, bro, but I'll switch to here. Boom. We got more official ones this week. Ooh. Yeah,
Nice.
if you guys aren't already, exclamation mischief in chat, and that'll bring you to Luke's YouTube channel, and you can check out the videos as he drops them. I love your work, Mischief. Please keep putting them up. We're not gonna look to do critique on everything, and because it gets to a point where I think some people might be like, okay, yeah, calm down, old guys. Stop like giving us shit. And we want to reiterate again that we don't talk about this stuff with the intention of nitpicking on any particular players or or calling into question anyone's like player ethics or anything like that. We do it purely as a teaching tool to see how like bad, if there are bad habits, what you can do to fix them, what we would do in particular situations, if there's any like random shenanigans that pop up, like the greatest race of all time between Tucker and Dr. Feelgood. But mostly like we really love to kind of soak in.
I think we gave at least one pat on the back for every 2 wags of the finger. I feel like we had an okay ratio there. We said some nice things.
It's easier to critique bad than it is to critique good anyway. So, the next one was Azra versus Judoku because they're your new people going to the tournament, so we felt that we'd have best to help them. Yeah, it's good. If they can learn kind of a couple of things, like perfect. And the thoughts and comments that we make here on the Resupply podcast don't necessarily reflect that of the wider Laser Force community. We just have a bigger soapbox than everyone else.
Entirely accurate.
Yeah, so
Big soapbox.
we're gonna use it to kind of to bolster our content as well. So thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
Nah, but also thanks to you, DK, for doing like a breakdown.
Probably went a little too overboard.
No, it's a
That
good
shit
thing.
happens.
I think next time maybe I won't take up as much time at the start of the podcast, and maybe we can just go straight into doing the deep dive. We'll look to do that. I think after all the tournaments and stuff, maybe. I don't
But
think.
hey,
that...
look at all this useful content people can have on the VOD to go back and watch actual dissections of how to call shielding stuff and how does the dangerous play work
And it's good
and
to
where should you be standing.
like if please voice your opinions either in chat or Discord or on Facebook, and if you don't agree, tell us why, because open communication to make sure that we're on the same page as a community is really important. Something that I thought was a block in that instance, Ducky was like, I don't agree, play on. You don't think that of you guys, I know that you guys are giving your input, know what is wrong and what is right, and giving advice to new playing older players. Like we try and do that, Pickle. Like all our intention is to hopefully add some improvement to our scene. But first and foremost, try and be somewhat entertaining, not at the expense of anyone else, obviously, because that's never a good thing.
Yeah, we'll be entertaining at the expense of ourselves.
Oh,
We're
absolutely.
always entertaining at the expense of ourselves.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah, some of us have multiple chins.
Steve-O.
Yeah, dude, like there's so many patches of hair missing all over my body. It's crazy. There's a cost for everything. Exactly right. What are the numbers on the dice, DK? That they're like
Those are all D20s, right?
Yeah, they're all D20s.
Yeah.
Just different movements.
Love it.
Someone attacks one party member, we all roll for initiative.
So good.
Because human rights are cool.
Did I vote for the council? It's none of your business. It's none of your business, mate. Mind your own business. But yes, I did. Right. Is there anything that you guys want to say before we get out of here and let people get on with their weekends?
I think we've beaten all these horses bloody, so I think we can move on. I think we can move on to the weekend.
Yeah.
To the weekend.
To the weekend. Thank you, DK, again for your knowledge and your professionalism. That's a word.
Words are hard.
No, that's 2 words rolled into one.
That was a perfectly cromulent word.
Yeah. Cromulent.
Perfectly cromulent. You are accurate, DK. Very much so.
Now, so this week, to give you a quick rundown of what's going on this week, hopefully we will be back doing some more Laser Force Live again this week. I've really enjoyed playing lasers again. It's really highlighted how unfit and unprepared I am for our upcoming tournament in 3 weeks, but, shit happens. So we'll be doing that. We'll be back in on Wednesday with some more Lego. Thursday, hopefully Gray will be back with me for Thunderdome Thursday. At some point, we will do our new segment called
Stephen went to the dump shop.
And if I find anything of importance, then I love it so much. It's so perfect.
Not tired of it yet. It's great.
Oh, it's so good. With Luke back on loving and doing streams on Wednesday. Tucker, what's channel do you do that on? Do you do that on your channel? Maybe if someone could do a shout out for Tucker, exclamation shout out for Tucker. There we go. There. If you guys want to watch more Laser Force content, give Sergeant Tucker a follow. Obviously, he broadcasts all of Loveland, Colorado's members' nights. There will be no Resupply podcast next weekend, as I am heading off to participate in another Battle of the Cuzzies disc golf tournament. If you guys won prizes over during the charity stream, I will look to send out the ones that need sending out, including these bad boys right here, the Toothpick Steve disc golf putter Tui Pick Steve disc, which I love so much. But I'm gonna have mine down at the competition. I'm gonna look to maybe stream the day, so we'll see how that goes. But we'll be back in another couple of weeks, maybe, for the Resupply podcast, because after that happens, that is the weekend where our visitors are starting to arrive from Australia.
Holy shit! It's tournament time.
It's tournament time. So we'll do a hype podcast for the start of our tournament here. And then I don't think we'll be doing one the week after because I'll be traveling around with the Australians. So we got a whole lot of stuff coming up, and a lot of it is Laser Force centric. So I'm real excited about it.
That's very unusual for us to have so much Laser Force content on a Laser Force channel. It's weird.
We will, instead of doing the podcast, we will be streaming our tournament, and I would imagine that you guys will be streaming yours in Utah. So there's plenty of stuff to watch coming up over the next month. But for this week, I have been Guy Next Door.
I've been Guy Who Talks Too Much.
And I have been Than.
You've been Guy Who Lives in the Hotel. Always remember to backtrack, kids. We will see you all next time. Ka kite anō.